Greetings, 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 brothers and sisters of the earth. East side, south side, worldwide. We are fighting for freedom, justice, and equality. This is your brother, your friend, your digital content strategist, Tori Muhammad. This is the Black Business Matters show, broadcasting live from Chicago, here in North America. We're an intellectual radio station with our brother Earl Winfrey, and this is a brand new podcast where we discuss Black business matters. Black businesses that matter, and we discuss things that matter to Black businesses, and by extension, the communities that both of them serve and come from. Man, we got a great show for y'all today. Today is March the 13th, and it's a beautiful day in Chicago. And before we get started, man, I want to give a shout out and a show of appreciation for our sponsors. We have an incredible restaurant that's been around for 28 years, consistently serving quality soul food. Dan's Soul Food Restaurant and Cafe, 2523 West 79th Street. And they have some incredible down-home cooking with a touch of love. They have about 15 different side vegetables, and 14 of them are vegan-friendly, right? Where you going to get that at a soul food restaurant? Vegan-friendly vegetables. And, man, every day is Thanksgiving there, man. You get your stuffing, you get your turkey, your chicken, you get your peach cobbler. They got breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and it's that Southern comfort food with a little twist, because the owner has two things, not a little twist, this is what they all should be, but they focus and make sure that they give you great servings of food and that the place is always clean, front to back. And that's how they've been able to stay in business. So we appreciate them and shout out to them. And then also we want to give some love to Wendy Muhammad. Wendy Muhammad is a multi-million-dollar master business and real estate developer. She's an international businesswoman, a global thought leader. She's done crisis management. She's very philanthropic. And she is the only one that I know of personally as a Black woman who has built a $20 million micro hospital in the DC area. So, I mean, she's been doing incredible stuff, and she has another project where she has secured the former home of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And that home is going to be a business and cultural center where people can learn from the past, but also get tips and tools and information that they need to build their business going forward. So we appreciate both of them, and as always, we thank them. Now, before we get started, I want to read a quick moment in Black history. Some of us are coming into the realization and the knowledge that Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable was a Black man. It was not frequently taught in the schools, but more and more schools, I think, are beginning to teach it. But you cannot talk about him without talking about entrepreneurism, because this brother was not just a settler. He was just not the first non-white settler in this area, right over there by the Chicago River and Lake Michigan, but he was a businessman. You all may not know this, man, but this brother, here, let me pull it up. Right over there around where the Wrigley building sits today, nearly 100 years before Wrigley came along, Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable built an estate that included a frame house that measured 40 by 22 feet, a horse mill, a bakehouse, a dairy, a smokehouse, a chicken house with 44 big hens, a workshop, a stable, a cow house, and a barn that housed 30 bighorn beasts. And he sold and made products from his carpentry skill, like containers such as barrels, buckets, butter churns, pipes, and other similar items. We talking about the first mall. The first mall was in Chicago, started by a Black man way back then. So shout out to that brother, and if he can do it yesterday, we can do it today. So that's in my book, Black Business Pioneers. Y'all gotta check it out. You can get it on Amazon. So now, I got one more thing we're gonna talk about before we get to our guests. But before we do that, man, I know y'all been looking at me, man. Y'all been looking at me, but y'all keep looking over to the side. And y'all keep looking at this heavy and handsome brother over here. The founder, the curator of the Heavy and Handsome Facebook page, my brother and my friend. We have Russell Baker, fondly known as The Link. because he keeps us connected, man. Welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, Tori. Appreciate you having me.
Man, it's an absolute pleasure, man. I appreciate you coming in as the co-host really today, man. And I'm looking forward because you got a huge announcement, man. This is breaking news, right?
Breaking news, breaking news, breaking news.
So tell us a little bit about yourself and then tell us about what's upcoming.
Well, my name is Russell Baker. My friends know me as the Link. Like you said, I like to keep everyone together, keep everyone uplifted. On Facebook, I have a group called Heavy and Handsome. Just a group that kind of gets together, uplift each other on a daily basis. Kings and queens are paramount. And from Lindblom High School, class of 1984.
Swoop, swoop, swoop.
Swoop, swoop, swoop. And coming up, 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock on Fridays, I'll be starting a sports talk show here. Just want to get you all and ask you one question. Are you linked into sports?
I like that. Are you linked into sports? Man, it's a lot of stuff happening right now. People are not as linked in as they want to be right now with the coronavirus and the cancellation of seasons, or at least postponement.
Well, you got your NCAA that's canceled, which is kind of unfortunate for college seniors who won't get a chance to finish out their career. I did hear some speculation that they were talking earlier about possibly trying to bring some of the seniors back for next year to give them one more year of eligibility. But as far as that's concerned, and also the NBA canceling the season, they're saying for up to about 30 days with this coronavirus. It's kind of scary, and guys are out there on the court. You don't know what's what, but in the end, I think they're doing the right thing. It's kind of not too good of a thing to not be without sports, but don't you worry, I'll keep you linked in.
Man, that's what I'm talking about, man. So we appreciate you being on today, and we look forward to this show, and we're going to do whatever we can to support it and, of course, promote it, and we look forward to the content that you're going to bring. So before our guest is going to call in, we got an amazing guest, man, who is a successful businessman, and when you all hear what his business is, you're going to understand why he couldn't make it in today, but he knew it was very important for him to call in, so he's going to call in a few. But before we do that, I want to talk a little bit about goals. Each of us have goals that we set years ago, depending upon how old we are, right? Long time ago, and some of those goals we set recently. Some people started with the new year with goals. Right? Goals are an incredible thing because, as all of us can attest, when you reach a goal, there's such a sense of gratification, right? I remember when I decided to set a goal to run the Chicago Marathon. And once I made that decision, I had to work hard. I had to practice. I had to train. I had to put in the miles on my legs to build up the endurance. And I didn't appreciate the training as much until I got to the actual race. And when I was in the race, if it's all said and done, I enjoyed the training more than I did the race. Until I got to the end, right? Till I got to the end, that last mile, man, I had the same exhilaration it was when I started, right? In between there, I was cussing. I was good to about mile 19 or 20. Then it got tough, bro. It got rough. But the joy of accomplishing that goal, right? It was incredible. It was wonderful. It was beautiful. But then after it was over, now you got to look for something else to do, right? Because now that goal is being passed. It's behind you now, so you got to look for other goals. And having goals is what keeps us alive, right? Some of those goals we have are small, like, okay, what am I going to eat today? That's a goal, right? You got to accomplish that goal. Right. And then you have bigger goals. You have long-term goals. You have goals that help you reach beyond what you think your capabilities are. At least that's what we should have. And that's what I want to talk about. Because, first of all, it doesn't matter what age you are. It doesn't matter, if you're 20, if you're 10, if you are 50, if you're 60. It doesn't matter how old you are. Goals are something that you should continuously have. There should be mental goals. There should be spiritual goals. There should be financial goals, right? These are things that you want to be reaching for on a consistent basis. And since we're talking about Black Business Matters, this is the Black Business Matters show, right? Some of us have ideas for businesses that we're sitting on. And we're thinking, man, I should have started that 10 years ago. Oh, man, I should have done that 20 years ago. Well, what about right now? You're alive, so it doesn't matter how old you are. Do y'all know, bro, do you know that Ray Kroc was 51 years old when he started McDonald's?
Wow.
When he found the McDonald's brothers in that, Santa Monica, California, wherever they was in California, he was 51 years old. And then he started the process of building McDonald's. Martha Stewart, she was doing modeling, but she didn't actually start the Martha Stewart brand until she was 50. She was doing a few other things, but that's when she started becoming an entrepreneur at 50, right? Then you have, the old man that stole the chicken recipe, Colonel Sanders, from that sister. At least that's what the folklore is. He was in his 40s when he started that. So we don't have to, shy away from goals and starting a business because of age. Really, when you're getting ready close for retirement and the children are in college or out of college, then that might be the best time
Absolutely.
for you to start that. So, all right, so get that out your head. It's never too late. Now, here's the other thing that's so important. When we look at, and I'm going to read this article here in a second, but when we look at the climate of our community, when we look at the level of lack of jobs, when we look at the poverty level, when we look at so many problems that we're having with crime, everyone says we need jobs, we need jobs, we need jobs. Well, everybody can't do it, but some of us need to be in that position and in that mindset to start creating a job, right? And when you look at our ancestors, when you look at what we struggled to get through to get to where we are today, man, our ancestors, I cannot believe that our ancestors prayed that one day, 100 years out of slavery, 130 years, 40 years out of slavery, that we would be still asking the people who enslaved our ancestors for a job. That does not make any sense. We know they prayed for freedom. We know they prayed for justice and equality. That's why I said that in the beginning. So when we think about that, man, we owe it to our ancestors to start figuring out a way to create jobs for ourselves and our own community. Everybody else does it. Mostly, a lot of Chinese people employ Chinese people, right? Japanese people employ Japanese people. Latino people employ Latino people. It ain't nothing wrong with it. It just makes sense. You start at home first, right? So we owe it to the ancestors. Now, but here's the problem. We set goals. Sometimes we set goals that are too little, right? We set goals that we set them real big, but then we're afraid to reach for them. I want to talk to you for just a quick second about these false agreements that we've made, man. See, when we're little, we start talking about the great things that we're going to do, right? And then somebody says, man, you can't do that. Man, how you going to do that? Man, that don't make sense, right? It may be even something as simple as, one day I'm going to grow up and I'm going to fly like Superman. And then people start telling you why you can't do it, right? Yeah. You probably won't ever do that per se. But what's happening is your ability to dream, your ability to think outside the box is being stunted. Every time you reach for something, you was by the stove, mama slapped your hand, told you don't do that. Stop. Don't go over here. Wait a minute, baby. Hold on. Hey, stop. Wait. All these people telling us to stop when actually as children, everything we're doing is we're trying to learn, right? We're trying to grow. And sometimes, as parents, we got to make sure we create an environment where it's safe, but there's room for our children to explore, right? So, you might put a banner up in front of the kitchen so your child don't go into the kitchen when the oven is on. But then you make sure you plug up stuff so they can roam around and explore. That's how we learn. That's how we grow. But because we were stunted sometimes by people who may have been well-intentioned and then others who weren't, to tell us to stop doing something or don't dream like that. We've heard the story of Malcolm X and Minister Farrakhan and others who were in school in the 60s and the 50s, and they were told they told the teacher they wanted to be something great. And the teacher said, "Oh, but you're a great violinist. Why don't you just play music? Oh, you're great with your hands. Why don't you be a carpenter? Don't be a lawyer. Don't be this." Right? We have people that are telling us what not to do. And so we start making agreements, man, with these people in our lives, good intention and bad intention, but the same effect. And so now we have these goals and we stop reaching for them. Man, I was going to lose weight, but man, look at that cake over there. Right? Because somebody was always calling you fat boy. Or, man, I'm going to start this business, man. I want to start it right now. You too young. You in school right now. Forget starting the business, right? So here's an exercise you got to do. This may take some time. It may take some thought, but I want you to write down every goal that you've ever had in life. Every single one that you can remember. If you want to be in the NBA when you was a shorty, if you want to be a ballerina, whatever it is, write down all those goals that you thought about as a child and as an adult, right? Then the next thing you do after you write down all those goals, it may be a page or two. Then those goals that are unobtainable, number one, I ain't gonna be in the NBA. I can scratch that off the list. That ain't gonna happen.
It's not happening.
Only because the coronavirus stopped this season, because I was going to be a walk-in for the Bulls.
They sure could use it.
Right? But then these things that we can't obtain, scratch those off. Now, because you want to get those out your mind. Because every goal that you've had in your life that you didn't achieve, your mind is holding on to a little bit of it, holding on to some attention. So you want to get rid of those things that you cannot longer or do not want to do anymore. Right? Then from there, now you start thinking about and looking at those goals that are obtainable and that you still want to go after, and you start writing how you want to achieve them. You start putting some thoughts behind each one about how you're going to start the process, right? And then now you can start reaching after those goals. So that's the lesson for the day, man. So I wanted to share that with y'all because that's been on my mind, and I wanted to help some of us who may have some trouble hitting their goals. So I think we have an incredible brother on the phone. And we're going to introduce him, let him tell you who he is. But he is an owner of several laundromats in the city of Chicago. He's a serial entrepreneur. He is developing some real estate. And so we are very excited to have our brother on the line, Brother Kurt Cargill, or Brother Akbar, as he is known in the Muslim community. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Brother Kurt, how are you doing today, sir?
Doing fine. Praise is due to God. Thanks for asking.
Man, absolutely. So how do you want me to call you Brother Kurt? Because I know some people know you in the
brother,
business world as that, but then what do you prefer?
Brother, whatever you decide to call me, I know one of the best names is the names of Allah. And I try to be great. And that's what was given to me by a teacher. He referred to me as Abdul Akbar. I was striving to be great. But whatever you choose to call me, my name given to me at birth was Kurt. And that's what was beloved from my father and my mother. So either way, brother,
okay.
Whatever you prefer.
We're going to weave in and out of it. I'm going to call you Brother Abdul Akbar. But I wanted, because you mentioned that, and that's why I wanted to make sure I tie in some of that history there, and so people can make some of these connections.
Okay.
Man, so we're here. I don't know if you heard some of the preview, but I have a good friend and brother of mine, Russell Baker, is here in the studio with us, and he's going to chime in and ask you a question or two as well.
Okay, sound good. Good to meet you, Mr. Baker.
Nice to meet you as well.
So, man, tell us about the business. You are the owner of Your Neighborhood Laundromats, and people may have been touched by you and don't even know it. So tell us about the laundromats, the cleaners, and the locations.
Yes, sir. The laundromats of Your Neighborhood Laundromat first started as Kurt D. Laundromat. It was started from my father back in the early 70s. My dad had a chain of stores, and me as a young boy was very impressed by not only my father's ability to do for self, but his lifestyle. Having the ability to make his own schedule, having the ability to have the free time in order to spend quality time with me, and more importantly, just having the ability just to be self-autonomous. So back in the 70s, it started off as Kurt D. Laundromat. My father's name was Elmer D. Cargle. and he wanted to name the business after me. And he would always share with me over and over again that, hey, one day this will be yours. This will be your legacy. This will be yours. And so I was able to take that lessons and then ultimately bring it into in today's era and time. Laundry has changed quite a bit since the time that he was in business. Nowadays, they've got pieces of equipment that would do 125 pounds of clothes or 15 loads of clothes with one wash. And then the service side of business, meaning whereas people who don't have the time to do their own laundry, they would utilize a drop-off service, or we would even pick up the clothes and process them and return them back. And now even today with the laundry locker concept, where we install lockers in big high-rise buildings, and you click on an app and let people know, my drivers know that the clothes are ready to be picked up from the locker, and we return them to the locker. So technology has changed the game up substantially, but this is an industry that I've grown to love and am very passionate about.
Man, that's incredible, man. I never even heard of that type of service, man. You're definitely up to the modern times. And tell us about where are your locations, some of the locations, so people can get by there and support.
Yeah, we're located at 1400 East 47th Street in Chicago's Kenwood Hyde Park community, south side of Chicago. And we're at 2053 East 95th and Jeffrey Manor. We also own a shopping mall, right across from the Harold Washington, from the Cultural Center on 71st and Yates. So we've got a shopping facility there, whereas Walgreens is one of our tenants. And I've got a 4,000 square foot laundromat facility there, dry cleaners. And we're also located at 3451 West Roosevelt Road, Roosevelt and Holman, 609 East 67th Street in the Woodlawn community. And we've got a few locations that are in motels and hotels, and maybe 2 or 3 other locations that I'm not mentioning. But where we span over the city of Chicago, surrounding suburbs, and this is what keeps us busy in serving various communities throughout the city.
Man, that's just amazing. And you already said, bro. He said he can't even remember all of them. It's a few more he ain't.
Never got any stores. Yeah, 8 locations. Yeah,
That's when you know business is good.
So, man, tell us about. You talk about, how good the industry is and you love it, and there have been a few black people in the industry, but from culturally for the past, all my life, I know that's Asians running that community, and that's where you went to get. When I was little, I didn't find the black-owned cleaners. We always went to Asians to get our clothes cleaned in the black community. So talk about what's happening now. Why is there some opportunity for more blacks to get involved in the industry?
There is an opportunity for more of us to get involved in the industry, and I'm glad you mentioned that. It's a very good question. I can recall when I met Mr. Ray Ewell. Ray Ewell is a retired state rep, senator, and attorney, and he purchased a laundry facility at 160 West 79th in Chicago's Chatham area. And at the age of almost 90 years old, he had actually bought it with the intention of getting his son and his grandson involved with the place. And he thought that it was too problematic for him in his level of responsibility and his age. And he said, you know what? He said, I see that you have several locations already up and going. He said, this is what I want to do. I want to give you this location.
Wow.
I said, what do you mean, Mr. Ewell? He said, I said, nobody's ever given me anything. He says, well, I like the momentum that you're doing. Call me Uncle Ray. He said, I'd like to give this to you, and I'd like to help you and aid you along the way, but I want you to do me one favor. I want you to pay it forward. He said, just as the Asian people, just as the Indian people control Dunkin' Donuts, just as these Asian people control the nail business. Pick an industry, such as laundry, which is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Why can't black people dominate and control the laundry space? He said it's a necessity. It's like health. And if you're looking at it right now with the coronavirus, there are people packing in the laundry facilities, making sure they got clean clothes. It's something that people have to have, unlike other businesses. So I think that there's a great opportunity for more of us to be able to get into this space. I've done even one step further. I paved the way by going down to New Orleans and talking to equipment manufacturers so we can buy equipment directly from the manufacturers, from Whirlpool, from American Dryer Corp, not having to deal with a distributor or a middleman. We can go direct. This gives us an edge where we could be able to begin to gain the equipment, get locations, starting not only with Chicago, but basically all throughout the United States of America. It's all about duplication. And this is something that I think that would be a great, great opportunity. We know, Brother Torre, it may not be as sexy as a restaurant or another type of business for entertainment, because people enjoy going out to eat. But I don't see too many people that enjoy going to a place to do laundry. Don't see that enjoyment in there. It's really a chore, a daunting chore at best. But it is an opportunity that we know that we could capitalize on, because everyone needs to have clean clothes, no matter what.
Well, first, I just want to say congratulations for having all those laundromats in place. And also keep in mind, even though we do like to go out and eat, every now and then we spill that stain on the shirt. And once we spill that stain on the shirt, we're going to have to get it clean. And that's where you come in at. And that's where other young black entrepreneurs that might want to get their business started in the laundromat industry are going to have to clean up as well.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
So
yes,
what does it take? What is the investment? What is, if someone wants to get into the business, we were just having this discussion with the producer before you came on. He was like, man, how much does one of those big industrial washing machines even cost?
Yeah, the large machine that does 125 pounds of clothes will cost about $25,000 for one machine. Dryers about $5,000 a piece. It is a high capital intense business, but for me, I was able to gain the money to pool the resources together from communicating with my aunt who's retired. She had a little money in a pension. Another friend who had money in a 401k. So pooling resources together from few people allowed me to be able to get the seed capital to acquire equipment. And you've got leasing companies that will be able to work with you with a little bit of first and last payment on the equipment payment. You could be able to gain financing or leasing with just a little bit of leverage. So the average laundry facility would be about $250,000 to $300,000 for the infrastructure, your plumbing, your HVAC, your electric, ventilation, and then the equipment you're looking at for like a 4,000 square foot store, pretty close to $500,000 to get that off the ground. There's one blessing about it all. It's really a residual based business. It's not a thing where you got to have inventory, a lot of groceries or whatever that you would have to have in other type of businesses that require inventory. Our only inventory is the utilities, and everything else, once it's set in place, it's a residual based business, and that's what I love about it.
Man, so Earl, if we was on The Price is Right, we both would have been at a loss with the prices we guessed for the for the washing machine. So, but you said something very important, brother. You talked about family investing in you and lines of credit, basically, or leasing.
Yeah.
What kind of? Let me ask this, because we've had this conversation before, right? Talk to us about the kind of person that you have to be able to go to family and get that kind of money from them. Talk about some of the things you did leading up to going into the laundromat business.
The first thing that I recall that was so vital in starting off business is making sure I had a business plan, a feasibility study, and more importantly, the attitude. Because at the end of the day, we're selling our ideas, we're selling ourselves to other individuals. And the greatest pushback that I was able to get in me raising the funds were from the males in my family. A lot of doubting people. But it was several females that saw the vision. And friends of family were able to see, based on the documentations that I presented to them on a business plan, the feasibility study that shows pretty close to a 30% return on investment for that business. It shows that the laundry business is a business that normally does not fail like other businesses. And I always compare it to restaurant business because we see many of them, they're being established in the black communities throughout America. But we know that most of those have a tough time staying in business. Sustainability is very difficult. So utilizing that feasibility study and a business plan, and more importantly, brother, some of my abilities to sell myself was the most important way to be able to gain the confidence and trust in those people who've had money sitting in a 401k or a savings account earning pennies on a dollar for a return, and being able to give a return on investment of maybe 10% and having a total payback within 4 years or so for the investment, and some even less. Some I just took out personal loans from individuals who wanted to give me a 1 year or 2 year loan. And that's how I was able to start it off. But it didn't start with a full-scale facility. I started by buying used machines and putting laundry rooms in multi-unit buildings, 40-unit apartment buildings, 50-unit apartment buildings, and working out a deal with the property management company who would allow me to be able to utilize a space in the building for laundry.
So was there anything left from your father's laundromats when you got started?
No, sir.
So you started from scratch, but you had some experience and some knowledge that he gave you and the history of it. But you're not like Trump. You actually built it on the legacy, but you started from ground zero. Is that correct?
No, Brother Torre, that is basically correct, Brother Torre. I, like many black brothers, was kind of influenced in a negative way earlier on in my teenage years of life. My father laid the foundation down, but I was more influenced by my uncle out of Detroit, Michigan, and a few other family members who were trying to live the lifestyle of Superfly, trying to live the lifestyle of Scarface. And I thought that that was a easy route, a quick route to be able to attain the money, the cars, the clothes, the lifestyle, so to speak. And I made such a big mistake and wiped out and lost everything that was laid down for me as a foundation. And then I had to start from scratch. I did maintain a certain level of knowledge that my father had taught me, and that is, understanding about the equipment in terms of what represents a wash cycle, a dry cycle, what represents turns per day, and the goal is how many turns per day you'll be able to accomplish to be able to make a profitable laundry business. And what I mean by turns per day is how many times a customer will come in your facility, put money in your machine, and walk out with a complete wash cycle. So that's what I learned, as well as the technical side of repairing machines and installation of washers and dryers. So I knew that. So I had to build everything up from scratch. So I referred back to the contacts that my dad had established from equipment companies and manufacturers to get myself back into the business. But, Brother Torre, it was a lesson to be learned, bro. Trying to go down a slippery slope of selling drugs and thinking that it would be a quick way to be able to make money. And then even my father tried to tell me best. He said, son, my business is worth millions. Why would you do that? Why would you try to go that route? You weren't raised like that. But, you know, Brother Torre, sometimes we got to go the hard route, the difficult path in order to learn. Some people learn from the mistakes of others, and some people have to learn from their own mistakes. And unfortunately, it was a situation that I had to learn from my own mistakes in order to get back to what my father had laid down for me as a foundation.
Man, so that's absolutely amazing, brother. And as you reached into your history and pulled from your father's lessons, talk a little bit about how faith played a role in that.
Brother, that is one of the biggest aspects of how I'm able to get up every single day and do what I do. It's that motivation and drive. And I think that I had the business acumen from my father, but I lacked that spirituality, that faith. Did not have that as a complete being. I just had the glamour that I saw my father live with, the new cars, the nice homes, the money, the business, and things of that nature, but not the faith and the spirituality. And I have to give a lot of credit to the teachings of Islam, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and Minister Louis Farrakhan for giving me that motivation and really the understanding through study guides, through readings, to be able to understand that, hey, I'm more than just a material, physical being. My essence is a spiritual being. And then to further understand that all the wealth, all the things that comes to us really is not only on our doing. It's basically from the Creator. He gives it to us as a trust. And it's all based on what we're able to do with what we have been entrusted upon. And those things have given me that motivation and drive to keep going. And not only that, understanding the basis of community development. And it starts with self-improvement. And those are some of the things that really have created a level of balance in my life that's necessary for me to go out into our neighborhoods, because we don't have a solid community yet as of yet. But we have neighborhoods. And I'm working very diligently, Brother Torre and Brother Russell, to do what I can to make an impact by controlling some of the economics, controlling some of the land, more importantly, the land, and controlling some of the things that are necessary to build a community. We definitely need land. We definitely need to control the money that goes in and out of our communities. So those are some of the things that, through the studying of the minister and the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, even his examples of doing business and establishing the economic blueprint, it has motivated me to stay on a straight and narrow path.
And you really want to encourage another generation of entrepreneurs and connect with current entrepreneurs who have a level of success to do some serious projects. Is that right?
Yes, I always try to make sure that I try to connect with other entrepreneurs who are doing great things. I got a few other individuals that I communicate with on a regular basis. One is Louis Burton. He's a mentor of mine. He's retired from Arthur Anderson, but he's an accountant, and he does a lot of studies. So he's a mentor that I stay constant contact with him. And you've got Amari Kamal from Community Capital Corporation that we stay close contact. And you, Brother Torre, you're an entrepreneur as well, too. So what I pride myself in doing is trying to build myself and connect in a circle of other serial entrepreneurs or people who are trying to think in a way of doing for self. Even Sister Wendy Muhammad, I've been blessed to be able to sit down with her and have conversations with her on multiple times. There's the Gachards at the Gallery Gachards over in Bronzeville, being able to sit down. And these things are very important to be able to build a team of support groups where you can bounce ideas off of other individuals. And that makes a big, big difference.
Absolutely. Brothers and sisters, you're listening to Black Business Matters with me, Tori Muhammad, and my co-host, Russell Baker. We are talking with Brother Abdul Akbar Muhammad, the owner of Your Neighborhood Laundromats and Cleaners, and he is dropping some gems on us about family. So all those people who say you can't find family to support you, then take a lesson from him and come with a plan. Come showing the numbers. Come showing that you did the research and that you know what you're talking about, and you might just get that support. Brother, talk to us a little bit about some of the challenges. What's the biggest challenge in that industry that you faced, and how have you overcome it?
A lot of people, Brother Torrey, say that access to capital is the biggest challenge, but I won't say that would be the biggest challenge. For me, the biggest challenge is really having the right team and the right help, the right team, because there's so many different dynamics to this industry. There's the technical side of things. There's the equipment side of everything. There is the aspect of the full service where you have to have drivers that would be able to do the pickups and drop-offs, because we've got certain aspects of our company that's what I call the B2B side of business, where we're doing business with other businesses. One of our largest contracts is with the Chicago Public Schools, which is a military contract from the federal government. So I think that I would have to say that one of the biggest aspects is having the right team in place. Your accountants, your bookkeepers, your advisors, your mentors, where you can call no matter what time. What I loved about Mr. Burton is at 9, 10 o'clock at night, I can call Mr. Burton. He's retired, and he just loves to do what he can to assist other black entrepreneurs. I even met Steve Rogers. This brother, he was a Harvard business professor, and I signed up for a program that he gave, and it was a free program. And Steve gave me an email address and told me that he'd stay in touch with me, and so I reached out to Steve Rogers, Harvard business professor, graduate from Kellogg. So was so important to be able to have that team of supporters that can assist you along the way, not just moral support, but economic support, as well as mental support as well, too. Very important.
Man, absolutely beautiful. So tell us again some of the main locations for people who just tuned in. Where are the laundromats, and how can people, well, of course, once you tell them the address, they know how to get there.
Yeah, we can Google us. We're Your Neighborhood Laundromat. We're located, and we've got 8 locations throughout the Chicagoland area. 160 West 79th Street is in Chatham community. 1400 East 47th Street, there's a full-scale laundry there, and we also have a dry cleaners there. We're also located at 71st and Yates, which is a shopping facility. That facility was first built by Vernon Caldwell, the Caldwells, and their dad, Mr. Joe Caldwell, is owner of Taylor Wright. Taylor Wright Dry Cleaners, and he also sat on the board of Seaway National Bank, which is another mentor friend of mine, Joe Caldwell. So, yeah, we're located there. We're also located at 2053 East 95th and Jeffrey, 609 East 67th Street. We're on Roosevelt Road in Holman. We've had facilities that we put in shopping centers that are in south suburbs, Justice, Illinois. We're located also at 88th Avenue, right off of 85th in Justice, Illinois. And we've been putting laundry facilities in multi-unit buildings as well, too. Red Roof Inn out in Lansing, and several buildings in South Shore community, and as well as the Woodline community.
Excellent. So anybody that's concerned, you want to get out and get that washing done because you're concerned about the virus, coronavirus, man, you have plenty of locations to get by and support. Now, what about some entrepreneurs, some folks that may want to connect with you and talk some development opportunities? How can they reach you?
Service at cityspincycle.com. That's service at city, CITY, spin cycle, like a spin cycle of clothes, .com.
Beautiful. And you know, Brother Akbar, we talk a lot about, I talk to people a lot about marketing, about promotion, about getting the word out about their business. What have been some of the tools you've used that have been successful to help you get the word out about your business?
I think that some of the ways that it's helped me is we've done different things in the laundry. I think last year we did read a book, win a bike. So we were promoting literacy, and we purchased from a black-owned bike shop a bunch of 10-speed bikes, and we set them on the bulkheads right behind the washers, right up there where people would come in. And it wasn't only just about promoting the youth, the youngsters, about reading books, but they actually had to write a report outlining some of the things that they read and what they got out of the readings. And then we were able to give bikes away. So that went over pretty big. We've got other different marketing strategies, whereas you could do with Groupon and sign on for Groupon if you want to utilize the laundry service where you don't feel like doing laundry yourself. You can just drop it off, bring in a Groupon, and I think that worked out pretty good because you didn't really have to worry about losing flyers by delivering flyers and putting them in people's mailbox, and we know that most of them get thrown away. But Groupon enabled us to be able to measure the level of response that we were able to get from what we were able to do in that advertisement. And we even tried you, Brother Torre, in what you have by putting some information. We also have tried Black
And it
Pages.
worked, too.
Yeah, and it worked. Thank you, Brother Torre.
Nothing like teamwork, bro.
Yeah. Thank you, Brother Torre.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, Black Pages International was a good book. Our brother. Some brother's name?
Eugene Delanato.
Eugene Delanato, Black Pages International. I make sure that every year that we have a space in there. And for us, the laundry and dry cleaning is more of a local type of thing, a community type of business, so we don't really do a whole lot of advertisement, but every little bit helps. We definitely try to do what we can to create a brand and keep our name relevant into the hearts and minds of our people.
Beautiful. What has been the most profound or memorable or impactful book about business or the idea of business that you have read?
Well, I always love our brother, Dr. Claude Anderson, and his book, Powernomics. I mean, I'm always quoting stuff out of his book because Dr. Claude Anderson is just totally amazing with his quotes and the things that he's shared in his book. And one that stands out to me was he talks about at the eve of the Civil War, black people had 1/2 of 1% of this nation's wealth. And when you look at the year that we're in now, or year last year, we're still dealing with the same amount of wealth, 1/2 of 1% of this nation's wealth. And Dr. Claude Anderson says that we're in deep, deep trouble. He said that we're almost like a situation whereas we're trying to play Monopoly without money. Or even those who have tools and pews to play Monopoly, because capitalism is a form of Monopoly, to play it without having the capital, and then all of a sudden we land on someone else's property, or we land on someone else's hotel, and not having the land, which is the base and the foundation, because land gives us a higher multiple of return. Because at the end of the day, each one of us is going to have to create an exit strategy, whether it be leave what we've developed to our children or sell it off. So land has a higher multiple of valuation than actual business. So, I mean, Claude Anderson talks about the control of land, the control of resources. But yet when we got over here, we didn't really have much of anything to work with. So that motivates me to do what I can to be able to try to control some of the economics and resources to some of the things that he talks about in his book. One of the chapters deals with group economics. You know,
that's right.
How do we pull our resources together, man, and start dealing with collective purchase power? I've got the brother Dunmore, Mr. Dunmore. He's got the only car dealership on Stony Island. He's directly across from the mall. So Dunmore called me up. He said, I want to get in the laundromat business. And I'm dedicated to do business with you because we're going to pull this thing together. You have a direct connection with the the manufacturers. We're going to do business together. So Dunmore, in my opinion, he's an older guy, but he gets it. The aspect of, you know, group economics, pulling the resources together in order to do business within ourselves in our own community.
Man, that's so exciting, man, what you're doing, what you're talking about.
Absolutely.
And, you know, there was something you said earlier. I don't know if everyone got it, but you said that the laundromat on 79th Street was given to you by someone who had it because he saw what you were already doing and knew that you would pay it forward. If that is not a testimony to the value of hard work and it paying off in ways that you may not even know, but how people are watching you. He entrusted you with that because he knew you would do what he asked you to do with it.
Yeah, Brother Torre, it's also a testimony of the value of spirituality, and it's also a testimony when you're trying to deal with what you're doing with integrity and you're trying to be right. God often sends in angels in your life. And I'm not talking about something in the clouds in the sky. Angels in the form of other individuals to see your struggle, see your strives, see your mobility and what you're doing, and want to aid in that cause. I mean, that's nothing spooky about that. That's the way it goes when you try to do what you can to be right and do right within the community. So Ray Ewell, I am so grateful for him. He was waking up sometime in the morning at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and see the laundry still closed, and the frustration level. He says, you know, I'd rather see someone who respects and works hard and values something. I'd rather give it to you, and I would rather you reach back to me and let me know how you're doing. He said, I'm directly across the street. He said, all these properties here, I built them from the ground up, 79th, one block west of the Dan Ryan. This first 20-unit building, I built from the ground up, he says. The second 20-unit, he says, I built this from the ground up. He said, and ride with me throughout the neighborhood. He said, see these single-family homes on 78th in the Dan Ryan? He said, I built this one, I built this one, this one, this one. He says, and then homes in Michigan, Union Pier. He says, but what I would like for you to do is share what you know in the industry and pay it forward. And let other individuals see the benefits of this laundry industry.
Man, this is absolutely amazing. We got to close out. And, man, I wish we could keep this conversation going with you. But, man, we would love to have you to come back on in the future. And, man, if you can bring that brother with you and we can have a conversation with the both of you all, that would be absolutely amazing.
Oh, Mr. Ray Ewell would love that. As a retired attorney, he would love that.
Man, we have so many hidden gems in our community that have been doing some incredible stuff that we don't hear about. So, and you're one of them. Man, I appreciate you for coming on the show. And, you know, I want to quickly close with the Final Call newspaper, the current edition, right? We have on the cover, Blacks Voters to the Rescue again, talking about Joe Biden, right? But in this edition, on page 8, there's a study that talks about how blacks are poorer today than 5 years ago. African Americans were more likely to be unemployed than Americans overall in 2018 than they were in 2013, according to a new study that details the economic and financial progress of African Americans have made over the last 5 years. And of course, what this is saying that we are worse off today than we were 5 years ago. And until we do, and more people, we support more people like you by making sure that we're going to your establishments, and the more that those of us who have an entrepreneurial mind come together to build opportunities, to create jobs for our community, it's up to us to do it. And the coronavirus, I think, highlights it in a certain way because, man, I thought of how much of a blessing it was to be able to have somebody to go into a store to buy some toilet paper and buy some hand sanitizer and buy these things, but there's some of our people who can't, and they're going to be in a worse position. They're going to be more anxious and more worried because they don't have the resources. So, man, we appreciate what you are doing, creating jobs, and we appreciate our brother Russell for being on the show, and we look forward to his show coming up on next Friday at 5 o'clock. What's the name of the show?
Link to Sports.
Link to Sports. You have any closing remarks, Brother Akbar?
Well, I just want to say thank you once again, Brother Torrey, for inviting me on the show. And you're right. When you made that quote from the final call, it is definitely time for us to start doing for self instead of begging for crumbs for someone else in order to be able to do for us what we should be doing for our own selves.
There it is.
Group economics.
Group economics. Brother
Yes,
Russell,
sir.
you have any closing remarks?
Just want to say thank you for having me on. Looking forward to next Friday, 5 to 6 p.m. If you don't know and you got a question, ask yourself, are you linked to sports? Brother Kurt, thank you for all the knowledge you dropped on us today.
Thank you, Brother Russell. Thank you for having me as your guest. Have a good evening.
Good evening. You've been listening to Black Business Matters with myself, Torrey Muhammad, and my co-host for the day, Russell Baker. So we appreciate you, and we'll see you next Friday. And again, we thank our sponsors, Dan Soul Food and Cafe, and Wendy Muhammad. Peace.
Peace.